Welcome once again to Microsoft JDConf 2025. I am Nagarjuna, a senior product manager at Microsoft. In this session, we'll see how Azure Load Testing can simplify the end-to-end performance testing of your Java applications. We'll also see some exciting new features in action. Well, all of us know the importance of performance testing in building scalable and reliable apps and services. However, it requires a multidisciplinary skill set and it demands a good amount of time and effort. So, performance testing usually gets neglected and it leads to outages and a degraded experience for customers. Let's see how Azure Load Testing can help you overcome this challenge. Azure Load Testing is a managed service for performance testing that simplifies the entire performance testing for you. You can easily generate high scale load without worrying about the infrastructure setup and run your test scripts at scale. Easily identify performance bottlenecks using a rich visualization of client-side and server-side metrics, and integrate load tests into your DevOps workflows for continuous performance validation. You can get started without any prior knowledge by configuring your test scenario within the Azure portal itself, or use your existing Apache JMeter or Locust scripts. Let's see this in action through a quick demo, using a sample Spring Boot application for a pet clinic. We want to ensure that this pet clinic application can handle a peak traffic of 1,000 concurrent users. To run a load test for this scenario using Azure Load Testing, the first step is to create an Azure Load Testing resource. Think of this as your load testing workspace. Here, you can find all your tests and test results. To create your load test, you can upload your JMeter script in which you have configured your test scenario. Here is a sample script where we have the users performing multiple actions like visiting the home page, finding the owners, adding a new owner, adding a new pet, etc. Now let's upload the script under the test plan tab. We can also upload any other test artifacts like CSV files, plugins, jar files, etc. here. You can also upload the artifacts as a zip file. We have parameterized the script to take the base URL as a parameter. So we provide those details under the parameters tab. We can also specify any secret certificates required for our load test, and the service securely fetches those from keyword. Let's configure the load now. In our JMeter script, we configured 250 users, but we intend to simulate a load of 1,000 concurrent users. We can do this by selecting 4 engine instances, each of which will generate the load of 250 users specified in the script. We can simulate users accessing our applications from multiple geographies by distributing the load across regions. To monitor how the app components are responding to the load and get server-side metrics, we can add our app components for monitoring. We can also define performance criteria and thresholds for this test. If any of these failure criteria are met, the test results will be marked as failed. These criteria can be defined on both client-side and server-side metrics. While the test is running, we can view a live dashboard of metrics, and once the test run is completed, we get a full dashboard with summary statistics, request level summaries, region comparisons, client-side metrics, and server-side metrics. Here, we see that the response time and error rate are high. We can slice and dice to see how the different pages were performing, what type of errors were observed, etc. Now let's look at the server-side components to identify the bottleneck. Looks like it is the app service plan. CPU utilization was almost 100% throughout, and memory utilization was also quite high. Let's upgrade to a higher SKU and see if the performance improves. When we run the same test again, we see that the error rate and the response time have come down. But the performance is still not that great. Now the database server seems to be the bottleneck. This way, we can keep iterating to resolve all the performance issues. We can also look at the performance metrics over time, compare results from test runs, and compare current performance with that of a baseline. What we just did was a one-time testing and performance improvement. However, we want to ensure that the performance is regularly validated as we keep pushing changes to our web application. We can automate this process by integrating load tests into our DevOps workflows using Azure Load Testing. We can set it up in such a way that our pipelines fail if the performance bar is not met. You can also run your load tests on a schedule even without CI/CD integration by defining the schedule through Azure Load Testing. You can also get notified of the events of your interest when these load tests run.
You can then use these notifications to trigger any post-run automation jobs.
In this demo, we took our Jmeter script to Azure Load Testing, easily simulated the desired load from multiple regions, used the results dashboard to quickly identify and fix performance bottlenecks, and gained confidence that our Pet Clinic Spring Boot application can take the expected user load. We also saw how we can run load test on a schedule and get notified of the load test events. Do try out Azure Load Testing and let us know your feedback. Thank you.